Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So today I figured I would talk through the three biggest fails of the Tacoma, specifically the Tacoma TRD Pro here, as well as the three most underrated perks, in my opinion, of the Tacoma. Then we'll top it off with, of course, what I think are the top three best perks of this. So starting with the biggest fails, we're gonna jet through these ones just because a couple of them are no-brainers for anyone who's familiar with the truck at all. The number one fail, in my opinion, still at this point, is the fact that this has rear drum brakes. So this is like the age-old complaint with the Tacoma at large. You know, the fact that they have disc brakes up front, but rear drums, well, I don't know. It was hard to really explain that. And I think, Toyota's engineers, they claim that it's for off-roading purposes, and you can't get dirt, gravel, sand and stuff stuck within the rear rotors by having them be drums. I think I remember reading that at one point, but I think at this point it's almost old news, that complaint. But I do think it is still among the top three fails. The second one is the lackluster engine transmission combination it has. So you guys know it has that 3.5 liter V6 engine tied to a 6-speed automatic. Well, this one, you can get the 6-speed manual, but this one in particular has the automatic. The automatics at large they're not too good in these Tacomas, and I think that's pretty commonplace, common knowledge for anybody who's been looking for a Tacoma or has owned one. That tends to be among the biggest gripes, and perhaps even a bigger gripe than the rear drum brakes at this point. I remember reading an article, how do they describe it? They described it as coordinated as a newborn baby bird is the transmission. So it is constantly hunting for gears, constantly trying to get the best fuel economy. So because of that, it's kind of puts you in a weird position to try to maximize the power output. So this 3.5 liter does create 278 horsepower. So a fair share, and on paper it should be even better, just as good about as the old 4 liter that it had, and as well as the current 4 liter in the 4Runner. So, but because it is always constantly hunting for that next gear, it never feels like it. Not to mention, because it is a lower displacement engine compared to the 4.0, much of the power actually comes in at a higher RPM. And because it's constantly trying to find that next gear, you're never really able to hit that higher RPM where the actual maximum power is at and sustain it without actually manually doing the bumping of the gear within the shifter there. And the final thing is the seating position. So again, I'm not going to totally beat it to death. I've showed you a couple times now, but for the 2016 model all the way up until the 2019 model, this is all your adjustability that you had. Up until 2020, well, in 2020 is when you get the electric controls over here to actually come up and down with your seating position, which improved it greatly, especially for taller cats. If you're 6 foot and taller, this particular setup, with the manual setup, it served kind of burdensome. So that was definitely a huge upgrade that they finally made in 2020. So let's talk the three most underrated before I get to the three best. I purposely wanted to include this just because nobody really talks about it. So the first one is the automatic, the 3 blink. The 3 blink when you click the turn signal. So when you are driving along, let me do the right one. So if you're gonna hit the next, or if you're gonna turn right, you pop the turn signal. You can just bop it up once, then your right signal will flash 3 times, which is pretty standard nowadays, right, for most vehicles. Same goes for if you're going to go left, you just pop it down, then you get 3 blinks with their signal. Kind of like best for changing lanes on a freeway or something like that, right? The 4Runner does not have that. I think, yeah, the Tundra does have it, but the 4Runner didn't have it. The Land Cruiser didn't even have it, if I recall correctly, which kind of was baffling. If I recall that correctly, I remember being surprised with that. Anyway, so the 3 blink, I'm gonna tie that in with this one too, so this doesn't count as a small perk. But the fact that it has the turn signals integrated within the actual mirror itself is definitely a perk to consider. So those I'm gonna connect together as one. The other one would be the blind spot monitor. So the fact that it actually has this, I think, is a big deal, whereas they didn't have that with the within the 4Runner or the Tundra, which is kind of crazy to think about. So the number one most underrated was the 3-blink and the integrated turn signal within the mirror. The second one is the blind spot monitor. And the last one, I guess I could have showed you this while I was in there, but the last one I think is a black ceiling. So I think, again, these are underrated perks, okay? It's just perks they don't really talk about or hear anyone talk about. You know, even the 4Runner and the Sequoia, the Tundra, they all had that tan roof liner ceiling, and it just doesn't look as good. Whereas this, I think it looks perfect. So again, another example of the Tacoma kind of being ahead of the game. What else? All right, so let's jump to the top 3 best traits, in my opinion. The first one, you guys already know what this is, I'm sure, but it's resale. So similar to the 4Runner and Tundra, the Taco here is among the very best of all vehicles out there, not just pickup trucks, to actually sustain the best resale value, the residual value. So that, I think, is the number one best trait. The second best trait, even though it does have a lackluster engine and kind of a mediocre transmission there, newborn baby bird transmission, the reliability is good. So that is a perk. It does live up to the Toyota reliability standards, I think. So definitely a best trait. And the final thing is definitely a matter of perspective and opinion, but I think it looks the best. Granted, this one's kind of dulled up a little bit with the the Icon Stage 9 lift kit, the open country tires, the TRD Pro wheels from the 4Runner, blah 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 blah. It's just kind of, I do think it's the best looking of the group there. I think it's better looking than the ZR2, even though the ZR2 is, I think, its nearest competitor, if you will. This is way better looking than the Ranger. The Ranger is garbage, in my opinion. But at any rate, so those are, I think, the top 3 best traits of it. So tell me what you think. Let me know what I missed. I'm sure we've got differing opinions out there, but just wanted to walk through those today. Appreciate you watching. Till next time.